Okay, so now wasting time. This is a brief talk about who are you? Who are we? That's the question. And this question is not a new question, because many great thinkers, they have thought about this question. Yeah, I can sit there. They've thought about this question and also asked this question. Philosophers, religion, right from Socrates, Plato, their central question was, who am I? In fact, Christ, Buddha, Muhammad, and Confucius, Lao Tzu, so many Chinese philosophers, this was a central question, who am I? Now the question is not who am I? The question is why they were asking this question. And what is the relevance of this question in our life? So we have a career, success, money, after this college. And that's okay, that's a part of life. But that's not the goal of life according to these people. And what they thought, how they came to this conclusion that who are we and why this question is important, that's what I'm going to tell you today. What's the relevance of this in your life? Now, so why should we ask, who am I, who is God? These are deep questions. And they have to be thought about. But what's the need of these questions? You might ask, what's the point in my life? I have my studies, I have my career. Why should I ask all these things? Life goes on. Doesn't matter. Even if we don't get these questions answered, it doesn't matter. But the point is, all the tradition and philosophers, they were very clear, without understanding soul, who are you? That I'm going to tell you. Soul, consciousness. Without understanding God, we can never be happy. They were very clear in this point. And to understand this, you don't need science. You need common sense. Because in Bhagavad Gita says, without the knowledge of soul and God, you can't be happy. Why? Because happiness of this world is temporary. So Gita says, Krishna says there, Gita is do you know about Gita, all of you? From India, definitely, but others? Have you heard about Bhagavad Gita? Okay, it's a book of wisdom and philosophy. So I would not like to tell it's a religious book. It's a book of wisdom and philosophy. It's a manual of life. That's Bhagavad Gita. Now, here's a book. Bhagavad Gita, this is Bhagavad Gita. It's a manual of life. Now, when you get this mic, you get a manual for this, no? How to operate this, isn't it? Or I get this, there's a manual for this. So when you get this, where's the manual of this? Where's the manual? Where's the manual how to think? You might not have thought about this question, how to think. But it's a very relevant question. In fact, all life Socrates spend this life on how to think. That is called ethics. If you want to give it a word. How to lead our lives in a perfect way. So that we get perfect happiness. Now that's this book talking about. And this one of the verse, it says, wise people do not go after temporary happiness, which has beginning and an end. So without this happiness of this world is temporary. It begins and ends, no? Begins and ends. You can find, like, there's a feast now. It'll be very tasty. That's okay. It is tasty, it's nice. But if I give you another plate, then after that another plate, what's going to happen? You become bugged up. What's happening? I can't eat anymore. It's the same dish, but after some time you become bored of it. You see? So everything goes down in this material world. Happiness gets destroyed. But the happiness of soul and God never gets destroyed. That's what these philosophers came to the conclusion. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita says, one who is satisfied within, he is truly satisfied. happiness of this word is dependent on objects. You see, it's a beautiful analysis. You just have to think. Just hang up and give a thought about that. So happiness of this word is dependent on objects. Now if you want to be happy, you can buy a cell phone or a car, some friends. You need something to become happy. You are getting my point? You need something. Until unless you need something, your happiness is not true happiness. It's dependent on something. True happiness is independent of everything. The happiness of this material world is from outside. Happiness of spirituality is from inside. Now you tell me, who is more happy? Whom you will call happy? A person who has everything of this material world and is happy? Another person who has nothing and is happy? Which is true happiness? What do you call? First or second? First one has everything. Every possible thing you can imagine. And he's happy. Okay, fine. You give him a performer. He asks, are you happy? Okay, good. Another person, he has nothing. Give him a form. Are you happy? I'm happy. Who is truly happy? Second one. Why? Because the first one, he has fear of losing happiness. That's the idea. He has everything and he has a fear, if I lose these things, I will lose my happiness. You see? So this worldly happiness is mixed with fear. We are always in fear. That's what our Vedas speak. Bhayam dvitiya viniveshita syat. You can never have true happiness if you are running after these objects. You can never have. Your soul, your God, that's your real wealth. It is said, for wise men, their wealth is their own soul. And for fools, their wealth is their property. These are philosophers speaking. Without science. Just common sense. That's all. You know what it is said? Common sense is very uncommon. You have heard this? You have to think about these things. Don't just spend your life like that. That's not a good life, no? I was a medical doctor, practicing. But then I thought, what's happening with my life? You just get up in the morning, do some job, come back, see some TV, and while seeing a TV, eat something, and then become tired, sleep, and get up in the morning, again, same routine. It's a meaningless life. That's what Ludwig Wittgenstein said. Life is meant to search meaning. A meaningless life. Oh, this is who said that? Socrates or what? Meaningless life has no value. No value. So these are good questions. Now, that is why we need knowledge of soul and God. You all want to be happy, isn't it? Isn't it? Or no? You're assuming you want to be happy or you're convinced? That's another question, philosophical question. Why do we want to be happy? It's a big question, We have faith that by becoming happy, we'll become happy. That's faith. That's on logic. So, but why do we want to become happy? That's a big question. That's the whole question. Whole Vedas are dedicated to this one question. These are good questions to think about. This is not a good question. What will I eat today? What will I eat tomorrow? Then day after tomorrow, where I will go? And then after 5 days, I'll meet my friend, or maybe talk to him. Something shallow. This is shallow life. There's no depth. Add depth to your life, because if your life is not deep, people who come in contact with you, they will also not think deep. They will think shallow like us. No, man is known by the company he keeps. You know that. No. It is said, if I want to know you, give me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. You heard this? You are a reflection of people who are around you. And you make people around you like you. That's how it goes. So happiness, another thing is character. This whole civilization is information, IT. But spirituality is transformation. It's not just information. Whole civilization is knowledge, but spirituality is wisdom. Whole materialistic civilization is how to lead life towards success, but spirituality is how to have a good character. Now what is important? Character, no. Suppose if you have a friend, and your friend is very rich, billionaire. Suppose your friend is, Facebook? Mark Zucker, was that? Oh, yeah. Mark. Suppose he's your friend. And, okay, good, nice. So, but you make friends with him, but after some time you come to know, I'm just hypothetically, you come to know he's not a good person. Suppose. He's not a good person, he's not a good guy, he doesn't speak nicely, he treats people badly. Suppose it's like that. Will you continue a friendship with him? In spite of all the riches he has? No. You don't want a friend without good character. Everybody's searching for a friend who is good. Not a friend who is rich or goes in cars, and no, you don't want that. You can be with him for a week or two, but whole life you can't be friends with him, no? Isn't it? So, knowledge of soul and God gives you character. You know why? Because in this material world, your happiness, you're searching happiness outside. Your happiness is dependent on things. When you lose things, you get frustrated. Isn't it? You get an Apple iPhone, you're so happy. Samsung S7, maybe beyond that. You're so happy and for 2 weeks, and then suddenly lose it. What happens? You become frustrated, no? And your friend calls you, hey, how are you doing? Come on, I want to talk to you. I lost my phone. You become frustrated and you pass on your frustration to other people. Because your happiness is dependent on things, you become greedy. You want more things. Your assumption is your things will make you happy, so you need more things. So that gives you greed. Greed brings lust, propensity to accumulate more and more. That brings envy and anger. If you don't get things, you become angry. You have dreamt so many things, but you don't get. You see, all bad qualities come. But by spirituality, by knowledge of soul and God, because that's knowledge within you, you're happy. You don't need anything. You're happy. No greed, no envy, no lust. You're absolutely happy. So this question, if you can figure out this question answer, you will have character, you will have happiness. But more than that, the answer to this question is goal of life. This is by Lao Tzu. You know Lao Tzu? He's a philosopher. He said, if you want to awaken humanity, then awaken all of yourself. If you want to eliminate sufferings in the world, then eliminate all that is negative in yourself. Truly the greatest gift you have to give is that of your own self-transformation. It's a beautiful saying. This is the best gift you can. It's not enough to become happy and a good person. More important is to share happiness with others. Otherwise you're selfish. It's not enough to become a good person. More important is to make people good who come in contact with you. That's transformation. That's what Lao Tzu said. So that is why this question is relevant. If you don't figure out the answer to this question before you pass out from this college, you cannot be happy, no character, no goal of life. Because after you pass from this college, there's something called, you have heard this term rat race? You have heard? You're in that race. And then you're working and this and that and that. This is a good time to spend. I also understood Gita and read Gita in college time, because your mind is fresh. You can think on deep things. So it's important to use your time nicely. Now, but what I'm going to tell you is the proof of soul and God. That's the question. You might say, okay, fine, yeah, we need knowledge of soul and God. Is there any proof? It's this age of science, no? Logic and rationality. Man is a rational animal, Aristotle. And we need some kind of logic. We are not here to have blind faith, no? At least not me. I don't want to do anything blindly. So, is there any proof of soul and God? This is what I'm going to show you now. But before that, let me just tell you, there's no proof of soul and God. You can't give a proof in a scientific terms. Proof means, okay, hypothesis, experiment, and then what? Yeah, you know this, no? Baconian method, no? That's science, no? And then proof, okay, here is a proof, okay, this is a proof, see it. But you can't do that in spirituality. Nobody can show you this is soul. Here's soul, okay, come on. And this is God. It's impossible. Why? Because everything cannot be proved. This is another thing you have to understand. This is an assumption that everything you can have a proof. Why? Is there anything in this world which you don't have a proof, but yet you accept it? Anything? Come on. Huh? Okay, axioms, yeah.
I was going to say loving someone.
Yeah. See? Love. Huh?
I mean, you can actually get some hints from...
Yeah, hints, but not a proof.
I mean, but you can actually...
You can see and you can't do anything with that.
You can express it.
Yeah.
You can express it. I think that's proof enough.
You see what? Heart palpitations? You don't ask for a proof of love. Because it is said, as soon as you ask proof of love, it will vanish. Isn't it? You love somebody and you ask, can you give a proof that you love me? Some mathematical proof. I don't love you anymore. Love, there's no proof. You know you are in love, no? You know, love at first sight. You have heard this, no? Some things you don't have proof. Hunger. Do you want a proof of your hunger? Now you're feeling hungry after yoga? You don't need proof, no? Like, suppose if you're feeling hungry, all of you, I'll not ask you, first give me a proof, then I'll give you a feast. So I'll do your brain scan, CT scan, then MRI, and I'll see what hormones are going on, and I'll prove you're not hungry. And no feast. And you'll say, come on, I'm feeling hungry. Hunger, sleep, thirst, love. You don't need proof. This is called self-evident knowledge. There are two kinds of proof. Logical proof, which is science. Another is self-evident proof. This is a term in Vedas, self-evident proof. It is self-evident for you. If entire world convinces you by science, you're not feeling hungry by biochemistry, still you will not be convinced if you're feeling hungry. Isn't it? Whole scientists from Italy, from Switzerland, from CERN, maybe your atoms will be taken and put in cyclotron, and then I proved you're not feeling hungry. So come on, give me a pizza, I'm feeling hungry. You cannot be convinced, even if entire world is against you, that you're not feeling hungry. So this is self-evident. Some things are self-evident. Knowledge of soul is self-evident. You can know within yourself. That is why people say practice. See, spirituality is not something intellectually. You can't grasp things intellectually. That is why it is said, Achinte khalue bhava natam sarke nayango chait. It is said knowledge of soul is beyond logic, beyond the thoughts of mind. You have to directly perceive it. If you want to know what is hunger, you have to feel hunger. Okay, how do you learn swimming? Tell me. Isn't it? By reading books? No book. You can do PhD in swimming, but nevertheless, you might not know what swimming all about, no? And you ask a kid, just jump in the water, and you know swimming. So, you see, that is why spirituality needs practice, not knowledge. That is why all philosophers, all religious thinkers, when it came to discussions and philosophy, they gave a philosophy, but they said, no, first practice. You will know yourself. You will know yourself. You will have a self-evident proof within you. You know within you that you're happy or sorrowful. You know within you are hungry. You know within you are tired. This knowledge you will understand when you practice. For example, this example is given of kids. When we were children, we didn't understand what's lust all about. No. 1 year, 2 year old child? Oh, come on. But when it grows, when he or she grows old, when we grow, we automatically understand what is. Nobody teaches us, no? We understand within ourselves, okay, this is called as lust. You understand lust? You understand this term, no? It's a philosophical term. We understand, okay, this is the meaning of lust. Okay, this is girl and this is boy. We understand the distinction. Before that, no matter how much you try to explain a child about distinction between male and female, will it understand? Will she or she understand? 5-year-old child? Can you make him understand? By doing some PhD program? It's impossible. You can do whatever you want. He's not mature. Maturity, when he becomes mature, automatically understands. Similarly, spirituality, when you practice and your mind becomes mature and pure, trained, automatically you start understanding, I'm soul, I'm not this body. This is self-evident knowledge. That is why all religious thinkers, they were convinced. They preached throughout the ages. They died for this knowledge. You can imagine? Somebody can die. He's so convinced, I'm soul and there's God, that he's ready to die. How much conviction he should be having? It's not intellectual thing, no? So that is self-evident proof. But we can give you some hints about existence of soul, and those hints come from science. We are like science, no? Science guys. So, no problem. Science is good. Science is a systematic study of this material world. You can have hints, but you cannot give a proof. For proof, you should follow. We can have hints. So it is said, this example is given. Suppose you have moon. You see a moon in the sky, and the moon is behind a tree. Now I want to show you the moon, but I say, see, there's a moon, but you can't see, you can't figure it out. So what I'll say, okay, do you see the tree? You say, okay, fine. Do you see the branch of the tree? Okay, yes. Do you see the fifth leaf? Yes. Behind that leaf you see the moon. You understand? This is the example given. You use a tree to point out the moon. Is there any connection between moon and the tree? Tree is there, moon is there. But you use tree to point out the moon. So you use science, some hints in science, if you are open-minded, to come to this conclusion, yes, there is some soul or consciousness beyond this body. And then you have to practice. Practice has no other alternative. You have to figure out yourself. So what's the proof? First proof comes from consciousness studies. Now people, past 300 years we were with machines. Now also we are with machines. AI, that's coming with a big thing. And machines. Everything is machines, no? Especially America, it's machines. Maybe after 100 years we become machine, ourselves. It is possible, America, it's possible, They'll plant a chip and something in your eyes, something here. So you become like Terminator, like Genesis, something like that. It's future, but it might be possible. People are discussing about this, by the way. Singularity. You know singularity? And people become more intelligent than, machines become more intelligent than something like that. So, but the point is, there are people who are studying consciousness. And they're coming to a very different conclusion. And this consciousness study shows our paradigm is human body is computer. That's how we try to equate. This is hardware, mind is software. That's our analogy. But this consciousness studies people, they found something else. What they found is, they found this. Computers cannot fall in love. No, your Mac will fall in love with Dell. Ray Kurzweil proposes that. You know Ray Kurzweil? He's like computer specialist. And you go and have a look. These people are saying, yes, maybe someday. But it's far-fetched. Computers cannot fall in love. Computers cannot decide right from wrong. I can give you a phone, but you have to decide what to do with that phone. You can use it for destruction. You can use it for transformation, construction, whatever. And computers cannot think. Computers can play chess. Garry Kasparov, Deep Blue. You know this, no? And this latest 2016-17, that AlphaGo, they defeated Go program. They can play chess, they can do anything, but that's a brute force. Everybody knows inside computer there are zeros and ones. That's all. Nothing. Just electrical signals. Nothing more than that. They cannot think. They cannot understand. They are using brute force and laws to calculate and predict. That's all. So that is the first hint. Okay, what about this statement? This statement is false. Is it true or false? What do you say? See, you didn't answer me, true or false. You just laughed. Computer will not laugh. If I give this statement to computer, statement is false or true, what computer is going to say? What's the output? Can't decide,
If it's true, it's false. If it's false, it's true.
Yeah, so computer can't decide. It can't laugh. We'll laugh. That is the point. Consciousness study says soul is thinking, feeling and willing. That's the first hint from consciousness studies. How do we know I am soul, different from body? Because we think, feel and will. Machines cannot do that. No matter you can make robots and whatever, it cannot think in the sense of thinking. We use this word thinking in machines, deep thinking, but that's not really thinking. Thinking, feeling and willing. Willing means intention. I can ask a robot to go there, touch that window, come back. Enter. It'll go, come back. I can tell you, go touch that window, come back. You go touch that window. You go and in the middle of the way you think, why the heck I should do that? What's happening? I'll not do that. You can change your intention, no? Machines cannot do once it's run. It cannot do. So, thinking, feeling, willing. That's one hint from conscious studies. That's within you. See? You think, feel, will, isn't it? But you never thought you're different from machines. There's something within you which is different from this body, this machine. This is not this machine. It is called a soul or consciousness. Second hint comes from, this is a big, beautiful statement. You know Thomas Nagel? Go and search, he's a big scientist, philosopher. He said, eventually I believe current attempts to understand soul, mind, by analogy with man-made computers that can perform superly some of external tasks a conscious being performs, recognized as a gigantic waste of time. He said it's a waste of time to equate machines with human beings. You can't do that. We are different. We are thinking, feeling and willing beings. That's what we have to focus on. You see, if we are entities who can think, feel and will, shouldn't we train ourselves how to think, how to feel, how to will? That's what we should be doing. Rather than making body, Whole civilization is for this body, Isn't it? Gym and muscles and proteins, vitamins, There's a big. In India, you don't have this big shops, only vitamin shop. I never thought about that. Protein, no, we are not. Body, you have to take care. It's important. But more important is your consciousness and soul, thinking, feeling, willing, which makes you unique. So that's Thomas Nagel. Another hint comes from science of neurology and brain. We are different from this body. We are consciousness. And the hint is coma. You know coma? You know about coma? You have read a novel, Coma? Robin Cook? It's a famous. You can go and have a look. It's a very nice novel. So coma patient. By profession, I'm a doctor, so I saw many coma patients. You see there. This has laser. No, it isn't. This doesn't have. Can you just start it again? So the coma patients. Okay, but how do you start this? So coma patients, their mind is dead practically. So you see there, this is the normal. This is a normal wave. You know EEG, electroencephalogram. He's like messed up on this patient. My God. Anyway, we dealt with these kind of patients, all tubes and this. So this is EEG. This is seizures. This is brain death. This patient is brain death. Flatline. You know what's brain death? Brain death means all signals stopped. You can't hear, you can't see, you can't taste, you can't do anything. Respiration goes on, maybe a little bit, if it's a vegetative state. Otherwise you put on heart-lung machine and all those things. No? He's just like a vegetable. That's why we call vegetative state. You understand? But what happens is, you ask any doctor who is handling coma patients, these patients can hear. They can hear properly. So I used to I used to go to these patients and sit beside them and read Bhagavad Gita. And many patients come back after 5-6 years. And one of the patients, he said, "Doctor, what are you reading in Sanskrit?" I could hear at that time. "Can you please repeat?" This is a mystery. This is not a mystery, by the way. It's not that science cannot explain it. And that's why we give explanation, that there is soul. It is that science doesn't have an explanation. It is that science says this cannot be explained scientifically. Because he is not supposed to hear, but he hears. This means something is working beyond brain. His consciousness is working beyond brain. Hearing is the most important sense organ in your body, not eyes. We think eyes are important, no? Isn't it? We take eyes. If I give you a choice, will you become blind or deaf? What you will choose? Deaf or blind? Deaf, no. Blind, come on. You don't want to lose eyes. Eyes is important. Okay, I can become deaf, but not blind. But according to scriptures, ears are more important than eyes. Because when you sleep, if you sleep, if you want to wake up somebody when you sleep, what do? Call his name, no? Tony or whatever name, Jim, get up. He can hear that, and they get up, no? If you shout, he's sleeping. But nevertheless, this works. While sleeping, eyes will not work. If your friend is sleeping, do one thing. Try sometimes. If anybody is sleeping, you just lift the lid. Can they see? No, they'll not be able to see. You just lift and you just. They can't see. And if you touch them, maybe if it is in a very deep sleep, he can't even. Some like mosquitoes are there. They bite. You can't feel. And if you light an incense, can they smell while sleeping? No. No sense works. Ears work. You shout from that room, "Jem," like your mama used to, children. "Jem, get up. It's morning." Oh, okay. So that is why ears are important. That is why coma patients' hearing is active. That is why whole Vedic philosophy, any tradition is based on sound vibration. We chant the names, chant the mantra, because this is the most active sense organ. And this is directly linked to our consciousness. Hearing, not sight or nothing else. So we use the science of, mantras, no? Like people chant mantras, that is why we do that. If a coma patient can hear, why can't we, who are meditating and who are chanting, it will awaken you. That's one hint from neurology that there's consciousness beyond body. There are some people without brain. You know this? Or perhaps you should all get your scan done. Maybe. Who knows? This person, this is just one case I'm talking from a new scientist. You go to net and there are many people after this. There's a Roger Lewin. He's from MIT. 44-year-old man, brain. This is normal, and this is his brain, like empty. See this? This is full empty. His IQ is almost average. He's not retarded. He's reading in MIT. Come on, what do you expect? He's much way above than all of us, like MIT person. He says no brain. This condition is called hydroencephalus. Science. It is not science doesn't have explanation. It is that science cannot explain this by any of the theories. Simply cannot. But that's why scripture says brain might not be necessary to function. Ordinary cases it is, but in special cases your consciousness can decontact from your brain and this body and can function without this body. That is where you see yogis. You know yogis? You know Indian yogis? They could leave their body. They could leave their body, enter. I used to practice when I left my home. I went to Himalayas. I practiced tantra and yoga, and by practice and practice, you can leave your body and come back again. Simple. You can imagine if you can leave your body, how much bliss it will be. No, without visa, you can go anywhere. You can go to China, you can go to Russia, you can do anything. You're without fear. Fear comes when we identify with this body, isn't it? We think we are this body. Something will happen to me, or I'll become ugly. So I have to keep myself up, and maybe something I'll become old. It is said in scriptures that every beautiful person has fear of becoming ugly. Every young person has fear of becoming old. Every rich person has fear of becoming poor. Every intelligent person has fear of having debates and opponents. Every poor person has fear of being exploited by rich. There is nobody on this earth who is without fear, except those who have knowledge of soul and God. It's a beautiful thing. You think about it. So these people have no brain. So this is a good hint which you can understand that there is something weird going on. You don't need, this consciousness is separate from body. This is Thomas Henry Huxley. Huxley, you know. He said, how it is that anything so remarkable as state of consciousness, that is soul, comes about as a result of irritating nervous tissues, is just as unaccountable as the appearance of din when Aladdin rubbed his lamp. So how is that consciousness comes from brain? If there is no brain, how do you explain things? Scientists like to say consciousness and soul comes from brain. Consciousness and soul is an epiphenomenon of brain. You have heard this word? Epiphenomenon? There's no brain, come on. These guys, no brain, how do you explain that? There's no explanation. You are not this body. That is the first teaching of any scripture, any spirituality. We are not this body. We are beyond this body, consciousness and soul. You can have liberation. You know liberation, you have heard this word? You can be free of bodily constraints, of disease, of old age. How much happiness you will have if you have no fear of becoming old. I'm not this. Finish. All fear gone. Somebody comes to shoot you, okay. I'm not this. Socrates, you know Socrates? They wanted to poison him. You know this, no? What he said? No problem, give me poison. My body will stop functioning, but I will not. He was realized. He drank it, okay, fine. Of course his body stopped, but he stood for what he understood. Because he realized the fact. So this is about consciousness. This is about Wilder Pinfield. He was a big neurologist. He said, after a professional lifetime spent in trying to discover how the brain accounts for consciousness means soul, it comes as a surprise now to discover during the final examination of the evidence that the dualist hypothesis means there is a soul and body, two different things. There is a dual means two, soul and body, and monism means there is just this body, we are machines, seems the more reasonable of the two possible explanations. This is scientists, they are coming to conclusion after their whole lifetime of spending of research. They are saying consciousness has to be separate from this body. We are soul. If suppose I ask somebody, who are you? And if they are unable to answer, what's the conclusion? What's the conclusion? Suppose if I ask anybody, who are you? And you say, I don't know. What should I conclude? Come on. You understanding what I'm saying? No? Suppose if I ask you, who are you? And you say, I don't know. Then what should I conclude about you?
your body?
If I ask you who are you and you tell I don't know, there's just one conclusion.
You don't exist.
There's some problem here. No, you don't know who are you? Come on. Isn't it? So, if I ask you who are you and you tell your name, I am this Mr. Miss so-and-so, I am a student of this college and this, but exactly you don't know who are you. You are different from this body. Scripture says it is not a normal condition. First question in your life should be, who are you? That's what you should be doing. Otherwise, what's the point of leading your life? You don't know who are you. Simple. Isn't it? It makes sense, no? It makes sense. So that is what about soul. Third hint comes of soul is parapsychology. You know parapsychology? This is about past life memories. You know about past life memories, no? You have heard about it? Like children, they remember their past lives. It is not a bogus, hypothetical things that science can just reject it. No. There are professors, Carl Stevenson and many other professors who have written books, who have done case control studies. Go and read these books. There's one book, Life After Life. There's a book, Life After Death. Go and see past life memories. I have personally seen a case. One boy came to me as a doctor, 5-year-old child. He said, last life I was I was in Jaipur, India, and there I was working for British Army. Britishers were ruling, no? And he said, so he was a kid, I didn't believe him. I said, what's happening? He said, I can tell you that there's some treasure there hidden in that place. I was a guard, and I can tell the government, and I can help find that treasure. So we held that child. He went there. He exactly pointed out the treasure. He told all history. He told who was he, and he told who his father, mother, and everything. Everything he told. And I was shocked. And he told he could remember his past life. Now what's happening? There's so many cases like that. 5-year-old child, he starts speaking German. He is born in Sri Lanka. So what do you do with these cases? It's not bluff. Everything cannot be bluff. So there are case control studies done. This woman is a famous case. See this mark here? See this mark? So this woman, this child, she was last life this woman in India, in Mathura. And she was killed by a hit on her head. This is a birthmark she got. So many people get birthmark. You know birthmarks, no? Last life, if they're short, they'll get if they're short hair, they'll get some mark here. Something. It happens like that. There are many cases like that. Many. I'm a doctor, that's why I know this. I used to see patients. They remember their past life, then they forget it. One of my personal friends, he remembered everything in the past life. He was born in India. He suddenly started speaking Swiss. I said, what happened here? A full accent. He talked to his mother, and his mother she's like old, she could understand this is her kid because he talked in a particular accent and the things which mother can understand. So what's going on? You are not this body. You transfer bodies from this life to next life to next life. You are consciousness. This is a big field of parapsychology. This is another outer body experience. You go and have a look. This female is Pam Reynolds. You go on YouTube and please see about her interview. This female, she got in brain a clot, and she was operated in the brain. This operation is standstill operation. Standstill operation means her heart was stopped because blood should not go in brain. No, if you cut the brain, if there's blood, then you end up in bleeding more. You have to stop bleeding. So his heart was flatlined. Her brain was almost flatlined because the brain was frozen. Now that clot is deep, so you have to freeze the brain, because if you don't freeze the brain, then there are capillaries, it will bleed. So you have to stop all the blood. So you have a gap of 24 minutes which you have to operate. Otherwise, if you freeze more, then it goes in gangrene, So that standstill operation. Her brain is shut, her heart is shut, her lungs are shut. Heart-lung machine we put. Finished. She is practically dead. 24 minutes, she is clinically dead. But she could You know this NDE, near-death experience? You know this OBE, outer-body experience? She left her body, she saw everything, she understood everything, she told what were doctors doing, she told entire procedure, she told I was standing on the roof and seeing everything. How is it possible? You go and have a look, she'll tell you. She's still there in Virginia. So it is scientifically impossible. Impossible. But yet these people are experiencing, this is not hallucination, by the way. She is hallucinating. No, it is under clinical controlled case. We know she was dead. Everything is stopped. Yet she experienced this. This case has a big potential in consciousness studies. Scientists are discussing what's happening, This shows that we are not these bodies. We are beyond this body. You can leave these bodies. And the last thing about this is knowledge of soul without knowledge of God has no value. If I ask your address, if I ask who are you, and if you tell your name and nothing more, it's complete. Your address is not incomplete, no information. If I ask who are you, you say I'm Jim. No, I want complete information about you. So you have to get your name, address, what you do, that also I should know. Similarly, just to know I am soul, that's not enough. You have to understand what is the activity of soul, what it wants to do. You want to do something in your life. Soul wants to do something. And there's a conflict. That is what Gita and philosophers have figured out. Your soul wants to do something, you want to do something, there's a conflict. And that is why there's always a pressure, frustration, a lacuna. Sometimes in life, you will feel my life is empty from inside. What's happening? Because there's a conflict there. Diabolism, you can say, in medical terms. So, you need knowledge of God. But knowledge of God, you have to understand, again, you don't get knowledge of God, can't understand knowledge by logic. You can't understand God by logic. So knowledge of soul is beyond logic, knowledge of God is definitely beyond logic. You can't do a theology. There's a theology. There's theosophy. People are discussing whether God exists or not. We can't show you. But knowledge of God is information. And anybody knows who is Aristotle? Aristotle gave 4 causes. You know about that? Everything has 4 causes. Formal cause, final cause, then efficient cause and material cause. Now it's very simple. Very simple. Suppose if you're a potter, you know potter, you make a pot. So what is a material cause of the pot? Clay. You make clay, with clay you make pot. What is a formal cause? Formal cause means why that pot is made. Okay, maybe for exhibition or water, whatever, And then what is the efficient cause? Efficient cause. Who made that pot? How can you understand that?
The potter, right?
Can you figure out by seeing the pot who made the pot? By seeing the pot you can figure out what this pot material is, clay. By seeing the pot you can figure out what is the function of this pot. Are you getting? But can you figure out who made this pot? What's the name of the person who made this pot? Can you figure out by seeing the pot? Yes or no?
No.
So how will you know who made this pot? What's the name of that person? How will you know? You have to ask, no? You have to ask information. No, you need information, isn't it? By logic you cannot figure out. Efficient cause is that cause who creates. Potter creates a pot. Knowledge of potter you cannot get by logic. You have to have information. You understand? So this word is like a pot. It is created. Who created this word? You can't understand by logic. You need information. You understand? And that information is given by scriptures. That's God. That is why we say He is a creator. You might ask, what's the proof of that? No proof, it's information. Suppose if you want to figure out who is sitting in the next room, how will you figure out that?
Go check.
You go look, no? Do you do some mathematical equation? Or maybe some radar?
So, like, you said, how do you know who made the purge? You said it's information. So, when you have thousands of such informations, conflicting information.
No, I understand. I got your point.
Which one?
Yeah, I understand. What is, if you have thousands of conflicting information, this means our knowledge is incomplete. Because people who have read, they find information is one. Conflict is made by man. There is no conflict. If we read scriptures nicely, all of the scriptures, I have read all. And it's the same principle. Details might differ. Same knowledge. This conflict is political. Conflict is made by people. Wise people, no conflict. At higher levels, people are unanimous. People understand. People understand. There's a God. He might be called by different names. That's okay. Process of worship might be different. But there is no unanimous. There is God. There is soul. Aim of life is to love Him. Simple. Now details might differ. No problem.
So how do we come like?
I'm just.
When you have thousands of conflicting information, can we actually ask questions about how did they come? What is the method of the inquiry?
Inquiry. Yeah, nice.
Because
Yeah, good.
If you say the method of inquiry is revelation, then I think you should have.
No.
I mean, if you have thousands of revelations in different.
No. It's not revelation. No. Yeah. So for that, method of inquiry is knowledge. First, take knowledge. Go to a teacher. Ask questions. Take knowledge. Go to another teacher. Take knowledge. Do some research. Read this book. Have a read this book. Read other books. Give some time to this knowledge. You see the point? It's not enough to say there's a conflict without doing some research. That's not a good idea. I'm also like you. I also thought there's a conflict. I thought, no, let me give a chance. Let me read these books. As I read these books more and more, it's just same. And it's beautiful. So convincing. But from different angles. That's the point. They're coming from different angle, they're coming from different angle. That's all. Simple. So that's why I've written this book. Your question, Crazy Ideas. I've written this book, Crazy Ideas, because there's so many conflicting things. So I've put all those conflicting things, given answers to this in this book, Crazy Ideas. If anybody wants, they can have it after this program. I'm just going to finish it. So but there are some hints of God. You get information, but science also gives some hints for that. And this is one hint comes from physics. You go and have a look about him. Go on YouTube, Google. Sir James Gate Jr., the theoretical physicist. He's a string theorist. He said, you know this, no? This is we have Earth, molecules, some molecules, no? Quantums, then strings. And then he said beyond strings there is a code in the universe. And there's a big debate going on. If there is a code behind all these things, this means there is an intelligence. And physics is coming to this point. Go and have a look what he's saying. And he's a big known figure in physics, theoretical physics. And another proof comes from genetics. Everybody knows genetics, no? So this is information, no? Isn't it? But you know what? This information is in codes. This information has a meaning. Any information, if there's a meaning to it, it is given by an intelligence. You understand? This is what is a big debate going on. How did our genes have a code in them? This means there has to be intelligence who has made that code. You can have a code through evolution. That's one thing. But the initial code, how did it begin? So there are debates going on, all these things. That's why intelligent design theory, there is a hint that if there is a code, there is a code maker. And last is, if you want to understand God, He's right there in your sleep. But we never think about it. That's why I told you, to understand God and soul is common sense. It's not science. Can anybody figure out this? And I'm done with the seminar. How sleep can help you understand God? At least give some hint. There is something beyond me. There's something beyond you working. It's not just you. It's not just about you. That's not life. It's about me, no. Everybody sleeps, by the way? You're sure, no? Okay. So you know what? In scriptures it is said, in Bhagavad Gita it said, Sarvasya cha mirdi sannivishto smritir jnanam apohanam cha. This in Sanskrit, but it's developed in Vedas. When you sleep, one miracle happens daily. Can anybody tell what's that? Oh, you wake up, okay, fine, but yeah, that's okay. That's a good thing. Really. Any other, while you're sleeping, what's the miracle?
You dream.
Okay, dreaming, okay, fine.
Your breathing.
Your brain function.
That's not okay, breathing, yeah. But then how that's the miracle?
You forget who you are.
You forget yourself. That's the seminar, who you are. And while sleep, you forget yourself. Can you forget yourself? You close your eyes and try to forget yourself. Can you do that? We did some yoga, no, before? Om. So, can you forget? You can never forget yourself. If you forget yourself, you can't come back, no? Isn't it? You can't come back. That is why all this meditation, you have heard about the meditation, like they say, make your thoughts, like empty your thoughts. That's not possible. Because if you empty your thoughts, and if you know you have emptied your thoughts, that means you have not emptied your thoughts. You see the point? It's absurd. You can't do that. And if you really emptied your thoughts, then you're dead. You can't come back. So that is why daily you forget yourself without any endeavor. You cannot imagine to forget yourself. No matter how much hard you try, you cannot do that now. But in sleep, automatically you forget yourself. Who does that? You don't do that. Because you can't do that. You can't do that. No matter you try. And you will not want to do that, isn't it? If I give you a power to forget yourself, will you do that? So come on, Get fear. This is where Vedas start. This is the first chapter of Vedas. Who makes you forget yourself daily? That's God. That's super soul. That's functioning according to Vedic knowledge. That's some higher power which is taking control on you. Making yourself forget. And when you get up, again you remember who are you, As soon as you get up, the first thing what you remember? What's the first thing you remember when you get up? Come on. As soon as you get up from deep sleep, you remember you are there, Isn't it? Okay, yes, I'm here. At least 2 seconds you take to figure out, I am here, so you're like, and then, okay, I am here, something. So that's miracle. God gives proof of His existence every night to you. But we don't take care of it. We don't contemplate on it. It's not in your power. Something higher power is going on there. So that's what is sleep, signs of sleep. Sleep is a very less understood phenomena, but scriptures give a hint. It is a hint. So there is existence of God, there is existence of soul, and the final thing, please follow. If you want to understand this, it's not an intellectual endeavor. That is why Searle said, our problem is not that somehow we have failed to come up with a convincing proof of the existence of God, or that the hypothesis of an afterlife remains a serious doubt. It is rather in our deepest reflection we cannot take such opinions seriously due to our scientific worldview. That's what is happening with all of us. Please open up your minds, read these books, take out time to read these books, come to this program, get knowledge, ask questions, spend your time in a good way. Read your stuff, material things, and spend time here. And make yourself deep. Understand God, understand soul, help others to understand this subject. Become happy, become a good man, share with others. That's what is life all about, Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Okay, this is it. Follow to see. Okay. So,
You want to? You can talk about your website.
Yeah, this is my website, by the way, Pure Devotional Service. This is my mail if anybody wants to contact me anytime. Any questions, I'm available. I'd like to discuss something. And these are the books which I have written, by the way. These crazy ideas, I already told you, that's available behind. Small donation, you can have it and read it. And this is one book, Science Fails to Explain Life. I'm a scientist, by the way. I'm a doctor and a scientist. I do research in genetics. I was doing. So I wrote a book, Science Fails to Explain Life, where all these things I've talked about, there's in this book, with peer review, with evidences, what the scientists are talking about, how things are, how paradigm is changing. And this is one book for devotees, how to practice. I told it depends on practice, no? So this book is talking about practice, mighty efforts. You can all have a look at these books in the table. These are some lectures of mine, some seminars which I give all throughout America and all around the world about science, spirituality, some 200 hours of lectures. You can have all these, have a look, come and talk to me. And again, thank you very much for attending. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Dr. Keshav, for coming and giving this wonderful talk. I hope everyone took away something from his talk, something useful, something valuable that you can apply in your life.
Yeah.
So we're coming towards the end of our today's session. So the best part, dinner. So since we're a little pressed on time, if you have any questions, you can get your food and come back and ask him during your dinner. So again, thank you.